Welcome to the Next Film Podcast. Today's guests are the powerhouse producing team behind the upcoming indie feature Snare, Sonja O'Hara, Mars, and Adam Hoelzel. Currently in pre-production and shooting in just a few weeks, right? Mm-hmm. January.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you're swamped.
26th.
January 26th?
Yes.
That's the day.
All right. Sonja is an Emmy-nominated director, writer, producer, and actor who has directed 2 features, Root Letter and Mid-Century for Lionsgate. She's now starring in and co-directing Snare from a script which she co-wrote with Adam, along with her upcoming feature, Cottagecore, produced by Peter Falk of A24's X Trilogy. And you said that just got full,
yes,
like,
we
green
found
light?
out it just got the official green light.
Holy
so
crap.
that will be shooting in Canada right after Snare.
Oh my God. Right after?
We have a month hiatus, and then we land in Canada as soon as the snow melts, basically.
Oh
because
my God.
we need like fecund countryside, and
Oh,
it's going to be very
fun.
cold in northern Ontario.
Wow.
So
that's exciting.
yes, thank you.
And a lot. Oh my God. Mars is a writer, producer, and actor producing and co-starring in Snare. This is their second feature after Triple Threat, which they produced and starred in. Adam recently completed his feature debut, Tender. Not out yet, right? Just
Not out
finished?
yet. No, just completed.
Waiting for
And
festivals?
Waiting for festivals,
Cool.
waiting for the whole thing. So
Awesome. And is currently developing his next script with XYZ Films, and then is now co-directing Snare, which I already said he co-wrote with Sonja. Also, Snare is a Tribeca Film Festival-backed feature, which participated in the 2025 Tribeca Creators Market.
been a long development process.
2005. I mean,
now in the
honestly,
20
like,
years in.
that's how long one battle after
Yep.
another took. 20
Yep,
years.
yep.
But no, this was really fast, right? It was only like 1 year.
Yes,
or even
this was
less.
insane, and this was a response to our other projects that got stuck in development hell that were supposed to go.
Okay.
Adam had his movie with XYZ that was supposed to, like, on the precipice of going. You'd cast Don Johnson, you were all set. And I had Cottagecore, and that was supposed to go last summer. And then we just decided to say, like, you know what, while these movies are going to, have continual cast changes and, more issues with funding and getting it all together, why not go and make something?
Oh, yeah.
We had gone to South by Southwest last year, where I'm a mentor at the festival for filmmakers, and now Adam will be this year too.
Oh, nice.
And Mars and I went to the festival last year, and Mars said, why don't we develop something together?
Yeah, I've been dying to make something about mushrooms because I'm obsessed with psychedelics. And I just completed my psychedelic facilitator program, and I was like, I really want to do something about mushrooms. And then Sonja was very interested in that, and then Adam was very interested in that, and I was like, what's happening?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's actually where I wanted to jump in is like, how did we get
love
from
it.
seed to here? So we
Yes.
started with just like, let's make a film together.
A concept. We were in Texas. We probably, were having too much fun,
Yeah.
enjoying the festival. And then we came back from the festival with a strong idea of, sort of the world that we wanted to explore.
Okay.
I pitched it to Adam, and then Adam was like, let's just do it. And I was like, what do you mean? And then within a month, we went and shot a proof of concept for it.
Wow.
And then we ended up going to New York to do the Tribeca Creators Market first. We shared the proof of concept there, got some funding. And then after that, we ended up getting into their Vital Stories lab. So they flew us back to New York. And then we got to have this like bougie little lab at the Soho House there. And it was very surreal and very crazy.
So
It
was the script written before the Creators Market, or
We
with
had
the proof of-
ideas. We had written a formal trailer that we ended up shooting for the Creators Market. And then when we came back with the feedback we got from Tribeca and from pitching everyone, we jumped into co-writing that.
Yeah, and we built off. I mean, I think we had our true germ of an idea was always around. I mean, we know the 2 people that are going to be starring in it,
right? Which was like always the original plan as well, right?
right, right. And I think you as long as you have that strong foundation, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that can be built on it. And now I think like with that in place, we knew it's Sonja and Mars, and we know it's about sort of toxic relationships within scientific and professional community. So from there, you just start, everything starts to flower out of there. And I think a lot of like when we were doing our proof of concept, there were a few things that we treated it essentially like a workshop. I mean, I would
nice.
call it, 70% there, but it really filled in a lot of the spaces
Yeah.
as we had this time to kind of explore and find things. And
when do you get a time to rehearse like that? It felt like we were all workshopping something from the inception. And, we were shooting things, and we said to ourselves, on bigger sets, you know, however many hours you have that day, you are limited the amount of setups and everything you're doing. But our initial proof of concept we did on a micro budget. So we were like, we will do it until it is good. We will do as many days as we need. And then we found something that felt like a good core. And then that led to us writing that screenplay, doing the other lab. And then it started to be, we brought on a casting director from who did American Horror Story.
Oh, cool.
And she brought us 2 actors that we can't officially announce yet.
That's fine,
But
yeah.
they're going to be going in January in Deadline. We're going to be able to announce them. And they both have major franchises under their belt. And that was a really unexpected thing because we always thought this project was going to be super small, super gritty. And then this casting director opened doors.
Yeah, that's what I love about like when you actually just have the train going is you feel
Yes.
like everyone just like jumps on and it becomes bigger than what you initially thought of.
Wildly.
Yeah.
Like we really thought this was going to be a scrappy labor of love, that this one wouldn't, that we just really had no idea that it would catch on the way that it has. And, you know, that's
But I think
surreal
we built it from what we knew we had, which in a way I think is a bit of a lesson that I'm learning more. Sonja's and Mars have probably experienced it a little more profoundly than I have. But it's like, I think there's so many times where you write to your strengths, you write to what you have. You don't want to limit yourself, but it's always going to come from a place of you don't want to overstretch. And I think if you keep it as you know what you have and you know what you can execute, and if you do that in the best way possible, then opportunities blossom from there.
And that's our DP,
Definitely,
right? Like
yeah.
he's our ride or die. We're going to work with this cinematographer always.
I love that.
But he has 2 features at Sundance this year, which is insane.
Oh, wow.
We like when
Oh, wait, how is he is he not going to be able to go
So
then?
we ended up having to push our shoot back exactly 1
That
week
is-
Oh, that's
so
so
Antonio
sweet.
could fly to Park City, have his big, like, you know, Sundance debut with the 2 features. And one of them, we just found out that Prince, you know, Harry and Meghan signed on as EPs.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, Antonio, get it.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
That's also like what's so nice about like having the indie budget is that like you can push it back a week.
Yes.
And he can now attend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
I think
who
it's
knows if you could
also
do that.
really cool as these cast members join. Sonja and Adam have been like writing the parts to tailor to them, which expands the parts and like makes you think about the script in a new way and
Yeah.
like brings up new elements, and that has been also a really cool part of it.
And that
That
speaks
is
to the what you
fun.
have. I mean, I think especially with the script too, like the script came together very quickly again because I would say 60% of our characters are people that we knew we were going to work with, and that helps in the writing process and creating
Definitely.
a character that is resonant. And so when you're filling in the gaps with these other 2 parts, it's almost like it feels so voicey on the page for the people that are already there. Other people can see that, and I think they respond to that.
And when it was actually announced, I had told my agents and managers we were going to do this. They didn't really believe me. They saw it in Deadline one day, and I got a call from my lawyer being like, well, when will we be expecting the offer for this new movie? And I was like, that's my movie.
Oh my God.
That's the movie that I've been telling you about, but now you understand that it's
Wow.
real. So nothing's real until
Until it's like,
until it's out there.
like out there. 100%.
Yes.
So I know that like the idea kind of came from like you 2 talking, but then you were the one that was like, let's do this. Like what?
Adam's our plot guy. He always comes in. I come at it from a character-driven perspective, and you just love your high concept hooks.
Is that
So
why
together
you-
we sort of balance.
I was like, is that why
yeah,
you knew you could...
I was basically given tremendous characters and tremendous actors, and then it's up to me to
He'll
sort of
pitch me
see
ideas. We'll go back and forth, start to shape things.
what's the best and the worst place for these people to be at any given time, and that from there then you build your plot from that.
Yeah.
And I'm queer, and Mars is queer, and we knew we wanted to tell a story where we got to explore sort of that side of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it's been really fun delving into the sci-fi. I think that's a space that I've never ever done anything before, but I knew everything I do is dark, provocative, and cerebral and a little sexy. But I think this is the most like grounded sci-fi, like Annihilation meets Eternal Sunshine. So it's really
Ooh.
fun.
I was
I
actually
also
going
love how much this like brings in your cancer story
Yes.
and also like mental health stuff, and how we, when we're making the project, like we get to actually talk about things that really matter to us as filmmakers.
Yes, that's completely it. I'm a cancer survivor, and the only way I knew how to process all of this was writing about it.
Yeah.
And last summer, when I was just finishing radiation, 2 days after I was done radiation, Adam and I were on set. I was producing his feature tender and acting in it. And I still had the burns under my costume, but nobody had any idea it was happening.
Wow.
And I was like, this is how I know how to channel my obsession.
Yeah.
It keeps me going. And I probably would have been completely emotionally derailed
That's incredible.
if I hadn't had that. So this process was writing about it, writing about the shame, writing about the double life of it, writing about how people sort of have this like saintly idea of what it means if you've had cancer, but you're just a messed up person like everyone else. And it's been really fun getting to explore that.
Yeah, I love that it's still such a deep and personal story, even though it like came to fruition so fast.
Yeah.
This is like the fastest turnaround because South by is that
I mean, it's
June?
been less than a year.
At this point, it's less than it will. We will have wrapped.
We will have wrapped principal
before
photography
we hit
on the
year
whole
mark.
feature by the time we were at South by this year.
Yeah.
So I don't
highly
think
that's
recommend
crazy.
working with people who live together and love each other and are obsessed with making art. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So what makes you decide like this is something to pursue? Because obviously like we have so many ideas, so many films we want to make. Like was there something special about this or just in general, like something that spoke to you or just the fact that you knew you could get it into production soon?
I think we can all answer this. I've always wanted to make a movie like Blue is the Warmest Color. Like this really like taut sort of two-hander where we get to explore sort of dark, interesting, complicated, uncomfortable spaces. I wanted to get to do that with a scene partner that I super trust. Our intimacy coordinator on this one is a well-known filmmaker named Jessica Thompson, who did The Light of the Moon for Sony. And she's coming in and it's going to be like so exciting to get to have a real director sort of just work with us on these scenes that are super vulnerable.
I love that. Yeah. How does working with an intimacy coordinator, they already came into the process or?
Yeah, when we were writing the sort of sexy scenes between Mars and I was sending it over to Jess to sort of talk to us about, just the realities of how we would stage these things in a way that feels respectful, but also, truthful. And then we have another actor in the project who is wheelchair bound that has a really cool, sexy moment. And that was something that I haven't gotten to see much of that on camera.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk about like, how do we do that in a way that is authentic and isn't, using any sort of like tokenistic kind of staging. And when you have somebody who's a director and an intimacy coordinator doing that, it's helping us find like cool ways to tell that story.
Yeah, I love that. And you guys already are rehearsing too, right?
Yes.
How long is that? Have you been doing that like since the beginning, since you knew you were writing for yourselves, or?
Well, I would consider our like read through of the script sort of our start to the rehearsal process.
That's when it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all, you've been exposed to the script as frequently as possible, and I think because the communication line is always open, that really helps. That you can have these moments where it's not an official rehearsal, but like you're rehearsing all the time. You're coming up with things, you're bringing things into the conversation. Texting, I found this, this happened to me, and I think that it all goes into the soup.
Yeah, like for me, I would say a big part, like my life paralleling being a mycologist in the film is really helpful for my rehearsal process too, because doing the practicum that I just did, I was like, there's so much I could take from this experience and put it directly into this character. And like so many of the feelings I have towards these people that I have just spent all this time with is like, that's how Jax feels about Ro, is like, what do you mean? Like my body can't be apart from your body. What is all of this? And
we've all been in toxic relationships too, where you sort of have that push-pull of, your attachment is activated and you can't let them go, even though it's really bad for you. So we wanted to explore a lot of that. And for me, splitting my life as a multi-hyphenate, I've learned I can only do 2 of the 4 disciplines per day and do them at a high level.
On set or just in everyday life?
In everyday life. So like right now, if I'm doing half a day where I am actively producing, like figuring out SAG paperwork, booking locations, doing WGA stuff, like all of the nitty gritty that's not very sexy side of producing that has to get done. Then if I'm going to be rehearsing with Mars or something, that's the other half of the day. If I'm also trying to shot list or do rewrites, I find that's where it just, the quality of something feels like it's going to be diminished. So we've been trying to structure days of like, half is, half and half.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how long has like pre-production been for, would you call? I mean, obviously you feel like you're always prepping.
I think it's interesting that because going back briefly to even the impetus of being like, we are all involved in projects that had more of the bureaucracy and superstructure of whether that be a studio or additional producers involved, and we sort of felt the slow crawl of those things, and this was a response to that. And I do think, like, when you really strip away everything, for better or worse, everything becomes pre-production, everything becomes rehearsal, everything becomes that, and like it affords a lot of opportunities to always be working, and then you're burdened with the opportunity to always work as well. So I think in any other scenario where you have more producers, more studio, more money, that the schedule is much more set. But because we don't have that, pre-production technically has been going on since March, but also
I would
maybe
say
not,
for the last 2 months, it's been where our entire days are just this particular movie.
Okay, yeah.
And when we were able to bring in that first significant investment, that meant this time around we could pay everyone, it's never as much as you'd like it to be, but we figured if we wanted to make this movie the next year of our life, you also have to pay yourself a living wage to be able to make this sustainable.
Yes.
And I have not done that before. I've paid everyone except for me. So for this one, I was like, I need to be able to clear my days so I can obsessively do all of these things.
Yeah.
So
that is a good point.
that
once
became-
the checks started coming in, the
then
structure
we were able to
forced
take it
itself.
on in a different level of I can clear the rest of my schedule unless an audition comes in. We are otherwise going to be, all day long harassing each other and making this happen.
I think that, like, for me, why I knew this was the project, I think it's really important to work with people that you can be, like, honest with and support each other, and, like, even when it's uncomfortable. And I think we're all growing. Like, yes, it's really great to work through, like, all of your pain and all the things, but it can be equally painful to say, like, actually today I can't work. Like, I actually do need, like, a mental health thing, especially when you love what you do and you're like, you never want to stop, and the clock keeps ticking, and it can be really, like, I have a lot of neurodivergencies, and for me it's like I get a script and it's going to take me, like, I'm not going to read it in one day. Like, I need time to, like, process and percolate. So, like, reading the script together, that's when I feel like I really shine and I can ask the questions and I'm not, like, overthinking. And so having people where we can, like, understand and also be like, I think you need a break. Or,
which is healthy and that's real.
Yes.
And when you are starting a business, opening an LLC, opening bank accounts, sharing very vulnerable personal financial information with one another, you get to know each other real well really quickly. And when you're also rehearsing and working through things, it's just fascinating because Mars, in the table read, you were shining. You were, like, kind of holding the script, but, like, improving a bit. And I'm really rigid until I'm off book entirely. So that meant while I was doing everything else, I have something like 78 pages of scientific dialogue in this movie. And I was like, okay, I need to learn 1.4 pages a day, months out. And that's my process, and not everyone's going to work like that. And then sort of accepting that other people have different ways in. I can be a crazy workaholic. Adam and Mars have to tell me to chill out. And I think that that's, like, a really good balance. Otherwise, I'd probably, never stop, and that would be bad.
And to have the, like Mars mentioned, knowing that you can work with someone with ease and without really having anxieties about that stuff. Like, again, as Sonja was saying, it's like you open an LLC, you open a bank account, like, there is a vulnerability to that with collaborators. But I think what's fascinating about this process is I actually can't think of a time, like, as I'm now thinking about it, like, we have done some things that are, like, things that would be intimate with other people, but, like, we've never batted an eye. Like, it's just it's something that happened.
The
like,
trust
we never
is
questioned.
so here. Like, I would trust these humans with my life, and it doesn't mean we're not going to piss each other off sometimes. Like, there is the nature of, and I always talk about wanting to practice radical honesty in my communication with the people I'm really close to. And I'm sure I can be annoying and overstep, and we apologize and we move on. But everyone here feels really safe to have those conversations.
Yeah, I think the acknowledging and, like, the self-awareness when any one of us will, like, come on too strong or drop the ball or to always be like, I'm not rushing you, I'm just checking in. And like, just even caring to preempt something like that. And I do think that, like, we're friends. We started out as friends. Like, I was not expecting us to make a movie together anytime soon. And doing the proof of concept, like, we're like, oh, we're all like, we're not just talkers, we're all hustlers. Like when Sonja was like, can we do this? I was like, my production designer was in town. I was like, you're staying. She was like, I'm staying. We were like,
and I was like, my
hunting for all
publicist
the
can do
things.
something right now. So
Yeah, like really just the teamwork like came together and we're like, okay, like I feel really, really, really good with these people. And that was
When
great.
did you feel like the momentum really kicked in?
probably the Tribeca lab.
Yeah.
When we went there, they set up all of these meetings for the project, and suddenly you're sitting down with like Fox Searchlight and Sony Pictures Classics and all these really cool companies, and suddenly A24 is requesting to read the script.
Yeah.
And it became like really, really real at those moments. And, you know, we realized that if we could get that big EP to come on, and we have a couple people that are like dangling right now, that sort of was the way to be able to have it transcend the previous work that we've made, because you want, everyone's obviously trying for those few spots at those like upper level film festivals, but having a person who has that track record on board your film, it just helps.
100%.
Like my cottagecore movie, if I hadn't had the, you know, EP of X and Pearl and Maxine, it never would have gotten me in the door with anonymous content or whoever else.
Yeah.
So
And we used that Tribeca lab as a springboard, kind of, if we're talking about momentum.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that was a bit self-imposed, but ultimately that's what had to happen. And we almost collectively said, okay, this Tribeca thing, this is going to be this date where we have to finish, because
we have to show a thing.
We
to
didn't have a
execs
trailer.
in
We
the
didn't
room.
have a proof of concept finished. And we said, why not just do that? And it was like a matter of 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks or something, you know, ahead. And normally, you know, and it's not like that was something that they didn't require it. It didn't have to happen, but we just did that
They said, if you have one,
Right.
we will share it.
Right.
Wide, share it wide.
And having an external deadline, whether or not it even means anything, I think for anyone that's so helpful.
I
And
think
they were
something you could talk about, Adam, that's really cool is how you use your experience working with trailers
I was
to
just gonna
reverse
tell that.
engineer.
I did, yeah. I was a producer at Disney, producing trailers for many years, and that was definitely another moment too of, oh, we need some additional materials for this, and thinking, okay, a trailer is certainly something that also I can.
I mean, you're
that's
downplaying it.
incredible.
Like, you've
Yeah.
worked on
Downplaying it.
trailers for Black Panther and Avatar and all these big things, so you understand the world of the story, and
And
suddenly
like how to tell a story within the trailer.
Yes.
and what can sort of be striking, or what leaves you, you know, when you watch a trailer, like what are the moments that really make a trailer, oh, this isn't just a collection of scenes, this is its own standalone piece that someone could be wowed by.
So when
We shot
IndieWire-
so much.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
shot so much. And to
Right.
see, like, first of all, the script that Adam had written, like, was already great. But then everything we shot inspired by that. And with the clips you ended up pulling.
Because he
to
wrote
use.
that proof of concept before we came on and co-wrote the actual full script. He wrote the little trailer script on his own, and we thought we were going to go in a very different direction. And then Adam wrote this very cool thing, and then it like turned into this project that was incorporating my breast cancer and my queerness and Adam's interest in wanting to do like a high concept scientific hook.
Right.
And it became this like thing that we
because it
builded
was all
upon.
it also was, there was a dialogue unto the pieces themselves, where it wasn't like, again, we had a script beginning to end, full stop. We didn't have a treatment beginning, end, full stop, and all of this came about in a linear way. This was, everything was happening simultaneously, so each fed into the other.
And you're like
in a-
finding
in
the
a
story
meaningful
while
way.
you're shooting a proof of concept.
Right.
And then in New York, they paired us with like various scientific experts, and then you're picking their brains.
Oh, that's
Yes,
cool.
like that was like a very cool thing about the lab.
Tribeca sent that up for you?
Tribeca does a thing where they
Wow.
brought in experts from the medical field, because the whole point of this new lab is how to tell stories of patients, not from the idea of like, you know, the procedural show where you have somebody who like, you know, is in for a single episode where they superficially like deal with that person's disorder.
Yeah.
They wanted to have creators who have gone through those actual experiences, shedding light from their own perspectives and avoiding cliches. So we were the only one in this Tribeca lab that were dealing with a project that wasn't sort of feel good. Like, we have body horror. It gets messed up. It's like sexy and gnarly and like plays with sort of like Black Swan, Substance, Teton, like the stuff that we love.
Love that movie.
Yeah, me too. And it was, they were like, can we, in a lab that's being funded by a pharmaceutical company, explore these things? And ultimately, Eli Lilly said yes. Like, let's have stories that can be all kinds of different ways from real people that have gone through it. So that ended up being really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think like one of the cool concepts that I loved about the script is exploring love, which I do believe love is the answer to many things. But in every movie, it's like, all you need is love. And it's like, is that really true? Like, can love be enough? And I think that that's such a interesting thing we explore, is like love can actually hurt you a lot.
And as somebody who had written a whole screenplay called Limerence before about just obsessive love and how when it's not two-sided, how it can be inherently really dangerous. And that was a project that I decided, as I was like working on it, I was just too close to it. And it felt very one-sided because I'd written it as I went through a toxic breakup. And this was a project where I felt like I had enough awareness on the other side of something like that, that I felt like I could tell it in a way that didn't feel like just from the perspective of the scorned lover, if that makes sense.
Did a lot of those elements of that script, you think, kind of make it into this? Or?
Some of the memory fragments, we're shooting all of the sort of dream sequence memories of our characters romanticizing each other, but also destroying each other. And we're shooting all of that on Super 8 film. And Kodak is supporting us.
I was going to say, I saw something on your story about Kodak, and I was like, because I'm shooting my next film on 16 mil.
Congrats!
Oh, cool.
Thanks.
Candy!
Nice.
But I wanted to know, so you're shooting like segments of the film?
We're shooting
on film?
segments, and then for Cottagecore, we were going to do the whole film in 35. And producers have been asking me, like, hey, I need to actually see you having done it. So I was like, okay, how can we find a way for this project to use these moments that should be a little gritty and, you know, have that texture, but, you know, we're not obviously doing the whole film that way. And then Blackmagic is also sponsoring the project and giving us a the Blackmagic IMAX Ursa camera for the run of show, which is incredible. That is so generous.
Or 60 a Super 65 sensor.
Can we dig
crazy.
in? How did we get there? How did you reach out? Did they reach out? Do you?
How now?
I did. And I wrote them an impassioned letter.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it seems like you're really good at setting up partnerships, and
I'm trying, and Mars is working on this right now with brand sponsorships as well, and I think they're so good at this.
And Tribeca had a few of those. Just the notion of partnerships and sponsorships, and because we're so low budget, it was really just I really don't recall if it was a specific Google, but there was definitely a like, hey, if you need equipment, if you need this, you can always reach out. We got into the Film Independent Fiscal Sponsorship Program, and then I realized that theoretically we could accept in-kind donations. So then when I started reaching out to companies, I was able to say like, hey, I'm a queer cancer survivor making this like sapphic love story. And I think that there's like a philanthropic angle. This isn't a typical movie that's like being made for profit in the same way. So like if somebody wanted to contribute something, we would thank them in the credits, offer their company, you know, any sort of, you know, production company like assisting credit. And we were surprised how many people were open. So the Kodak thing came from our amazing DP who keeps on doing projects with them. So they wanted to reward him. And Kodak said like, hey, we want to put you and your film when you're actually making it on our social media. And that could be like sort of like an in-kind service to make it like a little more quid pro quo.
I mean, every little thing helps.
It helps so much.
I think what's like important when you approach these companies is to approach companies you actually like.
Obsessed with.
Like I'm not going to go to like
just anyone.
Coca-Cola and be like, sponsor my film. I don't drink Coca-Cola personally. And so we've been approaching companies. I've been approaching companies I actually like have in my fridge all the time. Things that I normally buy for sets and things that, you know, I think will really help our crew and cast be really happy. And so when I write these emails, I'm like, here's a picture of me like literally eating these. Here's like all of the wrappers in my bag because I do go through a ton of these a day. Like you should consider us.
So find things that are like not only are aligned with the film, but aligned with you and your values.
Cool. Very much. And then when it came to meeting with sales companies, because I have UTA and Verve are repping Cottagecore, for this one we were like, okay, we have the big agency sales companies on board other projects we're doing. What about for this one if we can find companies that are really like filmmaker first, but not like when you need to attach stars to a project, a sales agent at one of the big agencies is perfect. But for something like this, we were looking at the companies that really, truly, consistently have films at Directors Fortnight at Cannes, at Sundance, at South by, that we wanted people who really got sort of the messaging and that we're not trying to like make a movie that gets like a red box sale. Like we're making something that, is maybe more right for like a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
And also like there's a tension there, right? Because you need a certain caliber of talent attached, which is not necessarily like what you were thinking at the beginning, but you end up with these really incredible people.
We
They're
just
like, I didn't
cast
even
today
think.
somebody who is nominated for the Gotham like Breakthrough Performance
yeah.
Award.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's always really exciting when it's like
So you're
people.
still casting roles too?
We ended up writing something for somebody who auditioned
cool.
for a part that didn't end up being right for it, but we were like, we
just
really
really
love this
struck.
person.
She was just
And then
an
we
amazing
saw her
person,
movie
and-
at the Gotham, and we were like, oh my god, this person's undeniable.
Wow, I love
So
that.
It's nice when that happens.
So obviously it's, an indie film, and as we're saying, it started out smaller, grew bigger. So with that, like, do you still feel that pressure of like casting a name? Because I feel like even with like low budget films, like in smaller distributors, they still want some
they
sort of
still
something.
care.
Yeah.
The two actors that we hired that are from franchises, that's certainly going to help. But if those actors hadn't been right for the role and hadn't been excited, like it was really cool because one of them turns out to just be queer and hasn't gotten to talk about that part of herself, in the project she's done. And the other, even though he's like doing Tom Cruise movies, said that he's always wanted to do an indie, but so far he's only done franchise movies as like the dude opposite like the number one on the call sheet. And it's going to be really fun to get to do like the kind of character work that you don't have time to do on those giant movies with all that action.
Yeah. How do you convince someone like, well, not even just them, because I'm sure the artist, the actor themselves.
It's
how
the
do you convince, I was going to say, how
Yeah.
do you convince their agent that?
I mean, that becomes my special skill, and
Okay,
I
cool.
spent a lot of time. I was repped at WME for years before I ended up moving to Verve because I just really love my agents over there, but I kept relationships. So there was somebody that was previously at ICM, now she's a big agent at CAA, and I'll shoot her a note and tell her the kind of movie that I'm doing. And I find that if you come to these agents and you're not saying like, I want your number one person, and making it seem like you're just trying to get your film funded in pre-sales off of like a person's perceived value.
Yeah.
And instead I'll send her a breakdown and say, do you have anyone? They can be your greenest client, but a green client at CAA doesn't exist. So they end up pitching you people that really are very amazing, that you're like, wow, thank you. And then they're pitching them to you as opposed to you trying to get access to their people.
Wow.
And
Smart.
I think that really, really helps.
Yeah.
And then I usually say, I don't want to play that offer only game because I've directed people on bigger movies that were jerks.
Oof.
And I'm so cautious of that now.
No assholes on set.
Yes.
Oh my God, no, I
really,
love that we're
really
asking-
care about
okay.
that. So now I ask for meetings for all of these actors before we sign on because, and then they come to me. If they agree to the meeting, they come to me very collaborative. They have questions, I have questions. And it's like we're not entering into an arranged marriage.
Yes.
And it feels more like there's, it's
And
a better
it's such
process.
a small town. Obviously, everyone always says that, but I do think it's you use that to your advantage in a way of like, if you have a great experience with someone, they will talk about you for better and worse, and as long as
And
it's
I've
for the
cast
better.
other actors at CAA, and I knew after I talked to the agent of this current person that that agent was going to call the other agents that have worked with me to check in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is where it's like we have to maintain just taking care and valuing all the people we've ever worked with.
And we cast another one of our actors who had a manager who moved over to a new, bigger management company, and that manager independently reached out to us to say like, oh my gosh, my client speaks, has worked with you before, and
then was like,
really
I have a new star client.
I
would you
really
consider
enjoyed working
meeting?
with
And we're
you.
like,
and
what?
so it's like,
I think there's so much to it. Like, one, relationships and
Yes.
consistency. Like,
Yes.
there's a few actors like Mark St. Cyr, who Sonja has worked with on
He's
most of
amazing.
her
It was in the
films.
Menu and High School Musical, and it's great when an actor
and
that
Triple Threat.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was in Triple Threat. That's how I met him.
Yeah.
And
I met him at your birthday.
He's
Yeah.
been in about 5 of my projects. I'll cast this person in everything forever. And it's really fun when somebody's career is climbing at the same time that,
yes.
so
like
you're
believing
able
in each other
Yes.
and
Well,
it's
upholding
like
each other. And I
Issa
think that
Rae's
speaks
quote.
volumes when
Right.
like other
Yeah.
actors are considering roles, and also to speak to the work you've put in over the years of cultivating your, like, you're just so magnetic and so transparent, and it's so clear that you are trailblazing a path not only for yourself, like
Oh,
chills.
made me blush.
But like, I admired you for so long before we were friends, and I was like, I want to be friends with Sonja regardless of working together because she's just such a passionate, like, kind, awesome person.
And it's really
and I
nice.
think that radiates. I mean, that Adam is your partner, and like that didn't happen by accident, you know, like.
I mean, Mars is amazing, and it's a very mutual thing. Like, Adam and I knew exactly how to collaborate with Mars because I had been eyeing their social media for a very long time, seeing like, wow, like Mars, the way you photograph, you look like this really sexy alien. And I was like, I know what I'm going to get to do with this face. Like, we knew. We had all these ideas. I had like a mood board of like how to like play with like the artistic essence that is Mars. And then when I got to know them as a human, they're the coolest person you'll ever meet.
Yes.
And they are beloved. And so many people will come up to me being like, oh my gosh, you know Mars. Like, everyone knows Mars.
I think like all of us in this room are people who believe in like transparency, and we want our art to do good things. And we understand that you can't do that and be an asshole. And
Yeah, you can't. And it's a long road that we're doing. Like, it was cool then for the project that Adam and I did, Tender, that I produced for him last summer. Adam got his WGA card this week from that movie. And I was like, yay! It's
But
like all
it's
these
a very
fun little
long
milestones.
road.
Yeah, it's a long road.
And you have to, and you stay vigilant, and you always I mean, so many emails that you just have to stay on top of and respond to, and nothing happens by accident.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like everything has been so aligned with this project. I love it.
Thank you.
Going back to the offer thing, because that is something that I also agree with like, now that I'm stepping up, because I am also leveling up in terms of like budget scale, you know, having a name and like making offers. It feels very like you're supposed to do it.
Yes.
But I'm the same way, where I'm like, I don't care about a big name if they're a jerk.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's just about like navigating and also having the confidence, I think, to tell that agent, like, before an offer is made, like, I would like to have a meeting with this person.
And my casting director was very respectful when she was like, Sonja, the ask that you're making of getting actors that already they're at a really high level with their career, and you're asking them to work for scale, which is already a big ask, and asking them to not just have an offer given to them, but to say you're considering them and asking to meet with them. She's like, not everyone's going to respond well to that. But we will say that when I wrote like a thoughtful letter, sort of putting into words that I wanted to find collaborators for this project that shared this ethos of making a scrappy little passion project, that were excited about telling the same story, and that I wanted to meet to just see if we were creatively aligned.
Yes.
People have been saying yes.
The emotional jujitsu that's going on here, though, isn't that we are telling someone, we're telling an actor we're considering you.
No.
We're inviting that actor to consider working with us. Like, that's...
And we're saying
and
like,
giving them
yes.
such meaty
That's-
roles and
yes.
saying we will expand these roles.
It's-
Yes,
It
and like
isn't-
talk to me
it's
about
not
the
an
things
edict,
you
it's
want to
not an ask,
explore.
it's
No,
a-
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it all feels very real. It doesn't feel manipulative or anything
Right,
like that.
because I'm
It's-
saying to them like, hey, if there are parts of the script that don't feel authentic to you, this is the time to call that out and tell me what isn't like resonating, so that we can workshop this and upgrade and play with it. And that's been really fun, like getting that feedback. Like, I actually like feedback. You know how a lot of people send a script and they're like, please just tell me it's beautiful, or don't like respond. Like, we've had a lot of hard conversations where you're like, this scene that I might be in love with isn't yet working. How do we elevate that?
Yeah.
You know?
Gotta kill the
And
darlings.
I think it's like coming back to what is art. I know there's like the business side of it, and like we could talk agents and managers all day, but like, let's meet as human beings and make sure that like we actually like each other.
Yeah.
Because it's been like, I think Sonja and I both said to Adam, like, draw out our best performances, Adam. Like, we're gonna bring it,
No
but we
pressure.
want no
I know,
pressure.
I know.
But like, do things like, because so often you'll go on set and like you don't get any direction.
Yes.
And so many of these actors have said to Sonja and Adam, like, we really want to like collaborate and be collaborative, and that's
And
such
when
a
you're
treat.
co-directing, it's crazy because I like to, when I'm actually on set, I want to have conveyed all of my notes. We'll have shot listed everything so meticulously that he will be my eyes and ears, but I don't want to break that trust with my scene partner by stopping and giving them a note, which also makes you then feel like you're acting like above notes. It feels like an icky balance for me. So Adam knows what I'm seeking. Our cinematographer, Antonio, gets that what I will and will not like about my own performance. So even though I'm not at the monitor during those moments,
You trust them.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like handing that over
Yes.
and being really open that they may say, you're not going to like that take. We need to do another. And, you know,
Having that person in your corner.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important because I do think like that's where a lot of people can go wrong with acting and directing is having that like double mind going on at the same time. So you're already so like prepared and aware of that to be like, no, I'm not going to try to do both. I'm going
and
to
I have to be
completely
so
lock in.
extra prepared as an actor in
Yeah.
order to be able to also do all the other things on set that I need to be able to do
Yes.
as a director and a producer.
Producer as well. Yeah. Like all the
Yes.
fires going on.
And I think it can be really frustrating to me. I've had some pushback historically from male producers who I have to say to them all the time, like, hey, people let men do this all the time. No one was questioning, you know, the Robert Redfords and the, you know, the Bradley Coopers and whoever else. Many men get to wear multiple hats and
Yeah.
people don't even think of it as an issue. And for women, there's still like a lot of scrutiny. People call it a vanity project when a woman is self-producing her own project with a great role for herself. But with dudes, it's like, oh, they're an auteur.
Yeah.
So I do remind people like, hey,
Nice.
I've been doing this in every one of my projects. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm good at it.
Yeah, that I
And you
love
have
that
to
you
own it.
advocate for yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
to be like, look what I've done. I'm killing it. Like, why
Right.
would-
They wouldn't have hired me for whatever the next job is if they didn't like what I did in the last one.
Yes.
So trust me. If you're going to collaborate with me, you have to have a certain amount of trust. And I trust them. So
Yeah, and clearly you don't have an ego. I mean, just
no,
getting
I
to
mean,
know you. Yeah,
and also there were times that you're like, oh God, I was terrible. Like you have to be really open and vulnerable. And you're like, I will save that scene in the edit. And then other times you're like, oh, I'm kind of feeling
Hopefully those
myself.
are delivered with love and not just like, you suck, we're
Terrible.
You better.
Yes, exactly.
yeah. Do you when you're in the edit? Do you like? I find that I like talk about myself as a third person. I'm like
Yes.
about the character, like her. I'm like
It's
she
like
needs to do
I
something.
am the character
Yeah.
until I am wrapped, and then it's not me anymore. Now it's Ro, and it's a
Yep.
third party thing, and then I'm going to want you two to be, you know, really like we just want to assess every moment.
In the edit, you find pieces. You can't change the pieces that you have collected. You have to search for whatever piece. You might have a different piece you've collected,
And you might
but
have a
if you don't
take
have
that
it,
like you found catharsis when you were performing it. You're like, oh God, I was really crying there, and then you see it and it feels self-indulgent, and you're like, this
Oh my God,
isn't
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
But also, I'm curious. I know I'm not supposed to be asking the questions, but
No,
Adam, I'm
no,
so curious
do.
about like your experience working so closely with us as you're preparing to direct and write, and like how that's informing your directing.
Well, I can speak to less the directing now, but already with the writing, it's already changed, and I think like that is. It is a great advantage to have your performers and your actors so close in this process because you're able to craft, you know, you always want, I'm sure the actor always wants to be challenged. You always want to challenge the actor, but there's a line between challenging a person or challenging an actor and forcing them into a box that they cannot fit. And I think that seeing the way that both Sonja and Mars act when they're doing a scene, when they're in their regular lives, you're able to pull and find moments and things already where you're like, oh, that's something that will, I mean, quick example, you know, Mars loves to dance. And so like very specifically, there's a lot with Mars's character that has to do with movement and has to do with the way that they contort their body. And, you know, with Sonja is very good again at presenting her case to other people, at sort of externalizing what is internal. And so there's a lot of that in that character of sort of emotionally posturing in a way that is both, I think, engaging and challenging. So these are just like little tiny pieces that you always pick up and you apply that to the character.
And I was looking for things within Mars that I love about, that Sonja loves about Mars as a person that I can play with for our attraction. And I was thinking like on screen and in life, Mars is somebody that really marches to the beat of their own drum in such a giant way that it's very freeing. You are very okay with trying things that you love with no regards to whether you have to be great at it. often you are great at it, but it's not result oriented. And I'm somebody who's so type A that if I am not good at something, like no one's going to see me play the clarinet ever again.
I feel that
Everyone in my family is very, very musically talented, and I have no musical ability. So it's like I will definitely put out the things that I'm good at, but you won't see those others. And I think it's really hot that Mars is just free to just express yourself in however that means. And I was like, that is something that Ro would covet within the Jax character. And it was like a really easy thing for me to be like, that's fucking hot. Oops, sorry.
Can we curse?
I actually don't know. We'll figure that out.
And I do think what's interesting from a directorial standpoint is knowing them for such a long time before I've started writing, and maybe they don't even know this. There have been many times in the script, even when we were going through the read-throughs, where I very deliberately would put a line or put or a turn of phrase that they've either said or have said in a certain way before.
And then I catch it later because our co-writing process involves us putting the FDX file for final draft onto the giant projector, and then we watch it like half of our wall, and we have a pointer, and we go through every single line. And there are times that we really like debate how something will be said or the way something is presented on the screen. And I will catch new additions happening that I'm like, we didn't write that together. And it's like a moment where Adam has absolutely saw something in our own lives that I felt like no one saw. Like when I get emotional, my hand claws, and we're like, and he's like, oh, there's the claw again. And things like that will just like make it into the script.
The tension just surges through her body.
Yes, but I think emotionally, that's how it manifests.
That I've there's been a couple of times where like even like Sonja mentioned with like I think the read-throughs with Mars have been so successful because on the page they are pretty inhabited even with some of the way that we've written them. So to answer your question, you've been directed without even realizing you've been directed.
I love it. Subtle, sneaky directing.
Yeah.
So
Are
fun.
there like things that you're taking from your because you just did your first feature like
big time.
Shot it last year?
Yes. We shot it last August, September, and then finished post like a month and a half ago.
Wow. I got to see a cut. It's so good. Oh
we did a screening at UTA for like casting crew, and it was really, really fun.
So are there like lessons or like things that you're taking from that
I mean, I think like that has been as we've gone. I think what's really funny is our AD on this also worked on Tender, and what was most telling to me was we got our first draft of the schedule, and there's like barely a second draft. And I just realized from like writing and experiencing Tender, it's just like the way that we've structured everything is in a way of like, we basically have produced it, on the page.
Wow.
So there isn't any like straight, because sometimes you write and you come up with these grand schemes of these sequences that are going to be great.
How do we figure it out?
And then you look at the schedule and it's like, well, this really should be 37 days. And it's like, oh, wait.
Well, you wrote your first one. When Adam wrote Tender, it wasn't written to be self-produced.
Yeah.
And then I came in, read the script, fell in love with it, saw a role for myself. And I was like, let's self-produce this and make this actually happen. Cool. So then you had to do rounds of rewrites to make things more contained.
To force it into that.
And I think it's been interesting that poor assistant director on that project saw this thing, wasn't able to get into our heads to know how we were imagining making things more doably shootable. And then this time around, we wrote this actively knowing the locations we had, the things we had in our
the
toolbox.
Days we had, the locations we had, the amount of actors we had.
The AD saw this one and was able to schedule it exactly the way that we imagined it because we were far more clear on the page, and it was more it was more doable.
It's always like learning how to communicate clearer, and everybody has different communication styles, which is why we end up bringing people back. And like, I'm so excited to have my favorite production designer joining us.
Yes, who's coming in from New York, and she's brilliant, and
amazing.
She made like a space that was just a generic apartment into a full greenhouse.
Well, I saw, you had like a BTS clip, right?
Yes,
Shout out Carrie Ann Korea.
We love her, and we're very excited to see what she's going to get to do with this one.
Yeah. Is there anything that y'all are taking away from past films that you think you're bringing into this one? Whether it's like lessons or maybe even like skills. Obviously we already talked about like, you're good at this, so you've been able to move forward with that.
Yeah. When I directed the Lionsgate movie, it was my first time really directing action. And it was the one time. I always feel that when you're making a movie as a director, you have department heads for every category other than acting, because we are the department head of acting as directors. But normally, they'll, like, when it comes to color, like my colorist knows I'm obsessed. My production designer, we have the same mind. But when it came to having somebody come on for stunts, that was a world where I was able to be like, I really defer to you. And for this one, for the physicality, and it's not fight stuff because this is like a different kind of project, but I said to Adam, when it came to shot listing those things, I felt like now I have such a grasp on it that I feel far more able to incorporate elaborate blocking. And I think before, I've had beautiful still imagery, things shot on sticks, actors having meaningful moments and close-ups. And for this, we want people to be moving. We want there to be more camera movement, just more motion, more elaborate Spielberg one-ers.
Live in the frame a little.
Yes.
You know,
and that's his specialty. And we've been finding ways to bring what we each have to the table to this co-directing thing, because it's my first time co-directing a feature, you know? So
and I will
Yours too,
say,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I will say Sonja is amazing at basically, you know, I can write a scene, and in the best way possible, Sonja is very good at saying what we can and can't accomplish with, you know, before we get there on the day. And I think having that foresight to understand I know that this sounds great on paper, but you're going to be disappointed with it when it's executed. So it gives you time to recontextualize that and say, okay, I understand. No, you know your limitations. Let's make something better for what we can do. Because I know, you know, being a writer and director, it's like, you've also seen the script where it's like everyone's so excited to write the script, and then, you know, you're thinking like, well, the writer is really excited, but like whoever the director is going to have a real tough time, and then you're on set and you're like, oh crap, I'm the director. Why did I do that? Like, well, I shouldn't have written it that way. So
and there are
Sonja's
times
really
that
good at
we
finding
will
those moments.
rewrite a scene. Like there was a scene that was just supposed to take place between Mars and I, like sitting in our living room, like generic couch scene. And I was like, no. This is a scene we are in a bathtub having this sort of like casual intimacy that two people that have been so close and now don't actually know how to put up boundaries between each other, that they're like slipping back into a codependency. And we're showing that by them just like sharing bathwater.
Literally slipping.
Yes, right. Yes, right. So
and
it's
really,
been fun.
really pushing again. We're the really pushing the locations and the action, so to speak, within the frame.
And wallpapering everything.
And wallpapering.
I will not have a white wall on
Yeah.
any movie. And we are having fun wallpapering and finding so many beautiful florals and fungal green.
Because that's one of those
wallpapers.
things where it's like, with just you know, you don't have much money, so it's like, what are the things?
And we
that for
just
the
saw that
littlest
Lynn
bit-
Ramsey movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Arpats.
yes.
Yeah.
And we were like, the wallpaper is just divine.
It is.
The
Yeah.
It
colors
is-
are so
it is
saturated
the
and
Best
lush.
supporting actor nom for the wallpaper.
Yes.
For sure.
But you wrote for the locations, you said?
Yes, we wrote specifically for the locations.
Like you
and
have
then
locations, you wrote for them.
rewrote when some of them didn't come up the way that we imagined.
Okay.
Like there were things then, rentals that you don't get, or somebody pitches you a really great location that you're like, oh, I didn't actually see it this way, but how can we use that? Like somebody pitched us this beautiful photo studio with this crazy white backdrop, and we were like, you know what, if we use a projector and have all of this like fungal imagery on that, that could be like a really interesting way to show the story of somebody who's like a young douchey influencer guy who's like funding installations. And there was a character in this that we're like, oh, that shows more about him as a character than giving him a generic apartment.
And I think for me, you guys spoke to like some of the technical things. For me, it's much more personal, I would say. What I've learned from past projects and past relationships is like, it's really easy to try to be everything everyone wants and expects, and to own what you are actually skilled at, and like find people that honor those things in each other. And like, of course there's room to grow. There's a lot of things I want to be better at that I could be better at. And I feel like when you are in an environment where I'm like, I know everything you're amazing at, and like, I love all those things about you guys. And like now, since we accept each other so radically and we have these mutual things and we want to help each other achieve all of these things, you are actually safe enough to do that growth. And like, just making sure things are mutually beneficial and not being guided by insecurity, I think is like such a big takeaway for me.
Yes, that's true. Insecurity and ego can derail creative partnerships. And I think we've probably all been in those sort of toxic bonds before with people with work, not just romantic.
And sometimes we're the toxic one.
Of
and
course.
like it's
Yes,
learning
that's real.
over
Yeah,
past
yeah, yeah.
relationships, like where you have erred. What is that the word?
Aired?
Aired.
Yeah.
And like fixing that on yourself, and then just carrying that mindfulness through.
I've had a tendency before to just end up doing everyone's job myself because I have control issues and want to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
And for this project, I've really been able to be like, hey guys, like, do you mind doing this thing? And people are like, please let me. Like, that's why I want to do this. I want
Yes.
to share in all of that. And it's been really nice to be able to delegate and have people not just step up and do the job, but do it in a way that's maybe better than I would have done, or in a really new way that makes me say like, oh, wow,
Yes.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely growth as for all of us in every position, being like, okay, I can release this piece, and like, you're not going to do it how I did it. But that's okay. Cause like,
You're an
as we
expert.
level up, there's going to be more hands involved, and you have to release and lead
And
with
sometimes
love.
they're like things you couldn't even have anticipated. I had a real dream of finding myself rocking in a rocking chair out to sea, which was so creepy. And I woke up and I was like, this is going in the movie. So I went on Craigslist and I found a free rocking chair. And then we drove out to a remote location to get this rocking chair. And I realized I didn't measure it and we couldn't fit it in the car. And then we had to send Mars to go all the way back to this location. And you like threw it in there and you're so strong and capable. And now next Sunday, we're going to the beach to do lens tests with this rocking chair in the ocean.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's so much fun. I love this
Okay,
stuff.
2 questions in there. First, because I know from your story you did camera tests.
Yes.
Is that, and you already did coloring with those too?
Yes, it's my first time actually taking up our colorist on the idea of going to picture shop, doing full lens tests before the shoot, and then saying like these are the ways that we want to achieve the palette that I want that's super hyper specific by shooting colors practically on camera, doing, having that color model up when we're doing the test, bringing it to the colorist, having him grade everything in front of us, and then realizing like I almost wanted like a Wes Anderson hyper specific thing. And then he built a custom LUT for us. So now when we go back to shoot, we will know how he's going to grade it so that we don't make the mistake we did before, which is our DP is shooting with what's there. And then later I'm like, but I actually kind of wanted it all to be dusty pink and have this glow.
Yeah.
And now everything will be done on camera. So
Wow.
we're not trading things later. Hopefully that will save time. But
Well, I mean, yeah, that would be another thing that we've learned from previous
I was gonna say
productions,
that,
like
yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've gone, you've gone through this more as well of just like every time we're going to picture shop and every time you'd be like,
It's me and
"Oh, if
Antonio
we had that
arguing
custom
about
LUT,
color."
We really would have shaved time.
And
so
then he's like, well, I
finally-
didn't know you wanted to go with that
Right,
shade.
right.
And I'm like, yes, but in the deck.
And
but
so,
I wasn't
yeah.
actually showing him on the day of. So
Right.
this was our way to be able to be like, hey, let's agree on everything. If we want it to have this like film stock kind of color palette with all these like beautiful warm colors, how do we just achieve this beforehand? And part of it is wallpapering everything. So
I love watching them argue, like the way they're all like, but this, no, but this,
I'm
no,
like, but I almost
this.
have synesthesia. Like it's like a very funny thing. And it's fun.
If you're enjoying the next film and want to help us keep making the show, we're now accepting tax-deductible donations through our partner, the Alliance of Women Directors. This helps us keep sharing honest conversation, insights, and practical tools free and accessible to artists. The link is in the show notes, or you can visit allianceofwomendirectors.org/fiscal-sponsorship. This episode is brought to you by executive producer Jeffrey Weber. This is actually jumping to like way back to the casting director. When did you decide you wanted the casting director to come on board? Because it is a smaller project. You both are the leads.
Yeah.
And then why? And then having them make the offers instead of a different producer or your
Okay, so
agent
that-
even.
There's a wonderful
There's
story.
a
For that.
story.
Yeah.
I went to the Film Independent Forum this year. I'm a Film Independent Fellow. I've done their labs before. If you're a current fellow, they make it free to go to their forum.
I almost went to that.
Oh!
But I chose. There was another workshop the same days for the Alliance of Women Directors.
Oh, cool. Yes,
So I went to
knew
that
that.
instead.
And that's also a great thing. And I knew other people that went to that too.
Yeah.
I told Sonja
But-
to look for you, but I couldn't remember which one you chose.
I
'cause
was like, I know. I was
posted
texting you.
between
Right.
I was like, I don't know which one to
Oh,
choose.
that's funny. That's fair. They're both great. But I showed up to this event. It was, a few days long. and they let you do a thing where you could be paired with any industry. You got 2 free meetings. Or if you were type A and stood in the line, you could get additional meetings. So I ended up getting like 4 meetings.
Nice.
But there was a moment where I'd already gotten to meet the exec from Chloe Zhao's company. I had gotten to meet somebody from another big film and TV company. And then they were coming down the line and saying, who do you want to meet next? I had been planning to meet the programmer for the labs at Sundance because I was in the finals for this lab and I've never gotten to meet someone from Sundance. And I was like, this will really help if I can get this one person. But the person in front of me took that meeting and I was really salty and I was like, darn it.
I'll show you.
I'll show you. And then they said, Sonja, do you want to meet this casting director? And because if I don't feel like I look like an actress that day, like there were times that I feel like I am in gremlin writer mode and I don't want to be like seen by casting. So I had this moment, I was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm on as an actress right now. Oh God, I don't know that I want to meet a casting director. And then I was like, suck it up. And I sat down with this woman, Rachel and Briglio, over at their company, Briggs Wade, who did American Horror Story. And I sat down with her and I told her what I was doing. And she said that sometimes if a casting team falls in love with a script, she's like, I make no guarantees, but I can end up occasionally working for less than my rate. And then she started to just tell me about the project she had cast and the way that she talked about actors. She just seemed to really care. And I said that I was looking for for these couple roles because Mars and I are, white. Like I was like, it's crucial to me that we have diversity and this is vital. And I said, do you ever come on and cast individual roles as opposed to a whole movie? And they said, often that's the only way to make indies work. So if we were able to focus on 2 of your roles, we will give you 4 months of time. We ended up negotiating and gave her a point in back end and gave them an associate producer's credit. And we just really, really valued them. And then they started to pull together lists and came back to us with some incredible actors that felt like such stretches, it didn't feel doable. And then they were like, I started to put out offers and had one of our other producers doing it too. And then they're like, we're here for this. You don't need to do this. You can be the good cop and let us be the bad cop. And I was like, okay, this is hard. And then how did it go? From there, they said they wanted to put out a breakdown. And I thought to myself, we don't need a breakdown. Like, we know what we want. And then from the breakdowns, we ended up getting some like really cool, really high level actors that, again, I wouldn't have thought would ever consider this budget level. Their agents were suddenly pitching those people to our casting team.
It's almost like the institutional weight of the breakdown of Briggs Ware. At the end of the day, then it became real
They
to everyone
said to
else.
me,
It was real to us, but now it's like, okay.
They said if you can get press right now and get a deadline release, this will help the casting push. So I had our publicist put out something and within 24 hours it was up. And then she's like, good job. Now we think we can have this get traction.
Right.
I also think across all departments, being transparent about the rates and then it's not like being like, oh, you usually make $5 million, but we have 500,000.
Yes.
Like, will you do it? It's like people that are already passionate and they understand what they're walking into.
And if they're also, sometimes there's a privilege of hiring major actors because they're doing just fine. Like they are making enough money that it doesn't actually make a wild difference from if you're paying them $700 a day versus Schedule F. They think of all of that as chump change. So sometimes for a production to be able to be like, look, we can truly only pay scale. We objectively don't have more money than that. I totally understand if you can't afford to work on this level, and I'd love to cast you in the next one. And when we say it like that, so many people end up coming back to us with
because a couple $100 a day means everything to a production like us, and to them it's like, whatever.
It means very little. So people, if they like the material and you can get a read out of them, and I'm also known for like slipping into DMs, and there have been a number of big actors that I've gotten reads out of our meetings with just by going rogue and emailing them.
Nice.
A lot of people's emails are accessible online, and I'm going to find them.
I think it's like Sonja's so great at this, but like, don't just cold email and make it boilerplate. You know, why do you like this actor or this AD or this production designer or this caterer? It's like, I hate personally when I get an email like, "Hey, I like your project. Here I
Yeah.
am," and I'm like,
Right.
"What,
You're like,
what
uh-huh.
project?"
Yes, I get those Instagram messages, and it's just, very clear that somebody is copying and pasting the same thing to everyone. And I'm like, if you're being lazy there, where else are you going to be lazy if we work together?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like honesty, transparency, and passion is getting you so far, which I love to
Collaborative
hear.
spirit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Going off of that too, obviously there's like tension, fear, scarcity in the industry right now. But on top of that, what is giving you faith and inspiration to move forward and keep making films when sometimes it kind of feels like the world's content out?
Oh man.
I don't think it's
It's-
possible not to make films.
Yeah.
Fair.
I think
Yeah.
I think we're all people where we're like, I'm making a movie. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm making a movie. And even if for me, even if it touches one person, I did my job.
Yeah.
I have had to reassess what it means to have a win. I used to think it was just booking the role or just getting into the A-list film festival or getting the grant. But now, like, I had a major film festival reach out the other day to say, hey, we loved your film. It made it to the top 15 films. We picked 10 of them. And I had to celebrate that instead of being like, I didn't get it again.
Yeah.
It was a thing of, I'm getting really close. People are seeing my work. The next one will get in. Somebody is tracking this, and sort of repositioning in my mind the idea of, getting close and getting to where we're ultimately going. Because 5 years ago, I was getting generic rejections from festivals, and we're getting closer and closer.
And also, like you said, the industry is changing. Like, getting into some of these festivals is prestige, but it also doesn't mean your movie's going to sell like it
At
used to.
all.
So,
Yeah,
No,
completely.
yeah. And sometimes you realizing it can sometimes be a blessing to not get that. It's like, what are these reality shows where you're like competing to be the star, and then like being the runner up is actually better for you.
And go much like with writing to your strengths, writing to what you have. It's like, make a movie. You go to battle with the army that you got. Like, know that yes, maybe you're not gonna make something for $5 million and get an MG for double that. It's like, just know that you're gonna do it because you love what you do, and don't sort of overreach, and know that, as always, it's never been harder, but it'll never be this easy again.
And
So
also,
just-
I'm making a $500,000 feature right now, and I'm about to make a $7 million film next. I can tell you all the sets of problems are exactly the same. Like, it's amazing how we
People think
imagine
money
one day you're
solves
going to
problems,
be doing,
but-
like, I vacillate between big and small projects, but at the end of the day, people are judging the final project, and the work, it's either good or it's not. People either respond to it and it lands or not. And you don't, just because you have more money doesn't mean it's going to be a better movie.
I think it's
Preach.
also learning
Yes.
that like you often don't have that much control over what ends up on screen because things happen, and you edit the movie you direct the movie 3 times, right? And that makes it so important to enjoy the process. And like, if you're just so stressed because you have so many people to answer to and you can't make a wrong move, it's like, it can't be tension, everything sucks, and then you're trying to distribute it and that sucks, and like all of it sucks. It's like,
you have to
I wanna
genuinely
be happy and love my art.
with each part of the process.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, that is why I know assholes on set.
Like, I want to do this at 98 years old, and I think that you have to, in order to make this sustainable, work with people that you love and find ways to make work that's the kind of movie you would actually go and see on screen. Because when I got derailed for a minute just directing for hire for other people, the scripts that I was getting, I was like, okay, this could make money, this could get on Netflix, but I wasn't excited the same way that I am when it's a story that is just, you have to tell it. So
And
just,
realizing the way you do everything in your life is an art. Like, you're an artist every day, whether you're on a set, whether you're writing, whether you're just like having a conversation, there's an art to all of that. And all of that reflects in your work as well.
I could literally pick your brains all day because there's so many other questions, but I'm going to let you get back to pre-production. I'm sure there's so much you have to do. One last question for all of you. What advice would you give to someone making their next film?
I would say, don't just fall into the rut of making a short and then another short and another short and imagining that it will get into Sundance and you get your Damien Chazelle moment where it turns into the big splashy feature. Go make that feature now. Like, I think there is far more of a way to monetize your feature than your short, and that's the only way to really like level up in this industry and make a splash. So just like let go of your idea that circumstances have to be perfect and just make the thing right now.
Mars.
I would say get to know and vet your collaborators beforehand, because you're with them for like 5 years. And if you don't get along, and if you don't like,
Made that mistake before.
yeah, it's like I like to ask people, like, if there's conflict, how do you want me to bring that up for you? Like, that's something that I'm going to work on implementing going forward, because I think it's so important, and it sets up the whole everything.
Communication.
Yeah.
It's key.
And I'll reiterate back to it will, it's never been this hard, and it's never going to be this easy. So tomorrow it's going to be harder. So today is the day that you need to do it and find your character, find your story, and just start shooting.
Wow. You guys are so inspiring. Well, best of luck. I can't wait to hear more about how set goes and all the details, and then eventually see it.
And I can't wait to watch your next movie.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yay!
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
you.
Yeah.